24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the African Experience with myself, Mabunda. I'm not normally alone, but I'm always with my co-host, my former teacher and my mentor, Dr. HLAMALANI NGWENYA. But you know, she's traveling the world as usual. She's in Senegal, but I know she's connecting online. So today, African Experience, we are going to have a beautiful, beautiful show. I'm particularly excited, but anyway, I don't want to reveal a lot. So this is African Experience, where our objective really is to inspire a Black child, and where we talk frankly and friendly and candidly about our Africa with the hope of changing the narrative. Okay, so going straight to it, our guest our guest is very interesting, and I must make a disclaimer before I go on. I know this person. Nilo mama nungusiyela. So enjoy the show and dynamics that it will bring, and I hope we have a great time together. So the topic of the show today is the Department of Public Service and Administration. If you are like me, you didn't know much until I knew someone who was in that department. Sit well, relax, grab your popcorn, grab your water, and relax and enjoy this hour with me. Our guest is none other than Mr. Mabunda, Mr. Mpika, Nyiko Mabunda, who's the DDG of DPSA. Mr. Mabunda, how are you?
Hey, Mpika Mijana.
It's so nice to have you.
Oh, I'm so happy.
I know excited. If I can pin you down, it means we are going.
No, definitely.
So, you know,
no, thank
like
you for
we
having
spoke
me.
earlier on.
Looking forward to this.
Yes. Oh, that is so great. So please introduce yourself to our listeners. Who is Mr. Mabunda?
Well, I'm the host's younger sister. I think that's the first part. That's the disclaimer that was being made. So my name, as it was said, is Nyiko Mpika Mabunda. And I was born Akiani in Limpopo. It used to be the capital city of Kazankulu homelands. If you know the history of our continent, you'll know that we had the unfortunate domination of European settlers in the continent, which then also manifested itself as apartheid in South Africa. So the people of my ethnic group, the Tsongas, were then allocated the area of Kazankulu, which was then headquartered in Giyani. So I studied in that area. I've been following Sesmandla a lot. In fact, all the schools that she went to, I actually went to, even at university. So it's quite interesting. So it's not surprising that I'm actually following her onto her show. She thinks she invited me. I'm actually the one who followed you to the show.
Oh my goodness, that is so lovely. You know, I actually debated whether I do say that or I don't say that, but in actual fact, you did follow me everywhere I went. Beautiful. In any case, today we are not talking about the family or anything like that, but we are focusing purely on service delivery at DPSA. So when I went through my research trying to understand what DPSA is all about, I found that you guys are actually doing a lot. I actually thought you were the HR wing of government. But I since have learned a whole lot, but I'm not going to say what it is. I want you to take us through that. What is DPSA and what role does it play?
Well, thank you. I think it's a great question because most of South Africans and actually most of the public don't know what the Department of Public Service and Administration is. So it's not the HR wing of government, but we do set the policies that govern human resource management, development, and how we interact with the public, as well as how we manage human resources across the public service. The setting of salary scales, the design of government departments in terms of organizational structures and so forth. So the Department of Public Service and Administration is actually, interestingly, one of only 4 departments that are mentioned by the Constitution. The others being the Presidency, National Treasury, the Department of Defense, as well as ourselves, because it says that in the whole chapter 10 of the Constitution speaks about what the public service must be and how it must be governed, the values and norms that are supposed to be if you are a public servant, you are supposed to live by. So you would have heard of what we call the Batupili principles, which are people first, or Banu Amashweni, meaning that whatever we do as a public service, it has to be governed by those principles. Those principles are taken directly from Chapter 10 of the Constitution, which is actually saying that we must have a redress, we must address the challenges of the past, we must improve I must be accountable to the public, I must explain what I do, how I do it, when I do it, and I must say when the type of resources that we spend, we must be able to account for those. So the DPSA is actually responsible for setting norms and standards that govern. So norms and standards are usually the guidelines, the policies that govern how the public service is supposed to be managed. So issues of making sure that everyone has access to a school, someone can get access to a service delivery site, like health, like home affairs, like the Department of Labor, all of those type of things. We don't tell the department how to do their work, but we say to them, this is how, these are the parameters that you're supposed to work within. When we recruit for people to come into the public service, it is our policies that state how you are supposed to advertise, how the panels are supposed to be set, how the type of questions, the level of qualifications, the minimum standards of qualifications, experience, standards, to skills, to competencies, to the behavior, and the ethical conduct of a public servant. So it becomes our responsibility to set up those frameworks, those policies, and to make sure that people or departments adhere to those. We also take the responsibility of every Friday of advertising positions across the whole public service. So if you want to join the public service, whether it's at the department in Western Cape, in Gauteng, or wherever, all those positions will be advertised in the Department of Public Service and Administration's website. So we quality assure those things, yes.
I know. You can hear the passion, our great listeners. You can hear the passion from Mr. Mabunda talking about his DPSA. And I wasn't far off with the HR and government. But anyway, welcome to our regular listeners. I see welcome to Sis Onika Nkona. She's saying, good evening, family. And I see from Namibia, there are people, Miss Ndala, saying we are live. and we are excited. We see Dr. Mkate, and obviously our follower, Mrs. Mabaza saying at the new So you know what? People know you as Nyiko from Guyana. You did take us through that. This person who is talking so passionately about DPSA today comes from somewhere. Take us through your upbringing. Take us through your upbringing, where you went to school, where you followed me, who inspired you to be where you are today.
I guess I must start by saying you inspired me. But well, as I mentioned, I don't think I should go deeper into primary school or high school and all of that, because it's many years ago. I identify as a 27-year-old, so I don't want to expose my other years that I can identify with. I'll start in the high school. I think it's a high school that I actually followed you to, which is Ketongumalo Agricultural High School, where back then we were able to be shown the practical ways of studying agriculture. And that has inspired me. It was more of a farm school in the literal sense that it's a farm setting. Excuse me, not that rural, but meaning farm as in it was a working farm. And it has inspired me because my approach to life, to professional work, to everything is practical. Meaning that whatever you do as an input, whatever you put in will result in a particular output, and that's the practical life of it. And that's why even we have one of my teachers from then, who's now a successful commercial farmer and teacher, Patsin Maluleke, who's joining us as well, you know. And it's quite interesting for me and exciting, because he was that teacher that was inspiring, and you can see him living that passion. So you do the practical aspect of it. But then after that, interestingly, I actually wanted to study landscaping. But then when I found that I was supposed to travel in a bus for 27 hours to Cape Town, I changed my bus ticket to to go to Durban, Westville, which is now University of KwaZulu-Natal, where you were. So I ended up following you around.
I so wish my host was here, because then she would now already think of either a poem or to write a book, because I think this will be a very interesting book. Yes, no, carry on.
It's quite interesting. So for me, I think we lost our parents when we were very young, but we were very lucky that when we lost both our father and mother, we were excuse me, we already had a good foundation. We already had a good foundation in terms of what we should know about who your support structure is. And I think that's the most important part, that if you are an individual, you must know who is in your corner. I know with my family, they might we are quite strict with each other. We hold each other accountable. But if we are out there in the public, you will think that, hey, you mustn't even go and talk to these ones. Because we have to be like that. So that unity, that foundation, that base that we received from our parents, to understand that this is who we are and this is who you are, and you have to be proud of yourself, and to understand that you are an individual that has to be a self-sustaining ecosystem is what really inspires me to drive the way I drive. And then obviously I went to university. So when I went to university, our late brother, may the good Lord rest his soul, he insisted that I must do engineering. So I actually registered for 6 months to study chemical engineering. Because back then it was understood that you have to be in the STEM field of science and technology. And so I studied engineering, but interestingly, by the time I got to university, I didn't even know what calculus was. So the mathematics that I had was more about AB plus BC equals
Oh
what.
my goodness, it's so interesting. We need to take a short break, and when we come back, we will still learn more about the person that is Mr. Mabunda, and we'll know more about what is public service and administration. This will be an interesting conversation. You can already see the passion and hear the passion in his voice as he's talking. So let's take a short ad break and then we'll come back. Please do not move. Welcome back. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to the DGD of DPSA, the department whose vision is to be a professional, productive, and responsive public service and administration. Their mission, they say, their value statement is that they belong, they care, and they serve. So we are going to learn more. We are going to learn more, and Mr. Mabunda has so gladly slotted us in his program. So he's going to tell us more about that. So before we went on an ad break, you were taking us through that journey and how you grew up. Here is a question here from our loyal listener, Mrs. Mabasa. She's saying, you are an inspiration to many young people, and I know you get that a lot. And so they want to know, how did a young man from Guyana become a DDG in DPSA? So you spoke about how you were raised and all that, but in a nutshell, tell a black child right now how to come from, let's say, rural settings, not that rural again, but rural setting, and then now they're serving in government. And also touch on how you also were working for the office of the premier, and just in a nutshell.
All right, thank you so much. I think Mrs. Mavasa in Irene, I think that's what she's written there. It was I think that the foundation of education and understanding that you have to depend on yourself as a self-sustaining ecosystem is one that gives that drive. So education. You can have as much connection as you have. You can be a political activist. You can be politically connected. But if you don't have the minimum qualifications for any of the positions that you want to be part of, you won't be able to get into that job. And if by any miracle you get into that position, you won't be able to sustain yourself. You'll expose whoever put you in that position, that they pulled strings unnecessarily or unethically. So education, and having a good work ethic foundation, being based on grounded rather on principles, to understand that you are there to serve, You are there to deliver, and most importantly, you don't represent yourself. As my sister is saying there, you have to know that everyone is looking at you. And with me, it's even worse. The public service, most of the colleagues that we have in the public service right now are actually aging, moving towards their retirement. So it means that it's the older generation that actually got in around 1994, after the breakthrough of democracy, and most of them would be even much older than me. And so you will have to understand that you are from a small town, you are young, you have to manage people that are much older than you. So you have to equip yourself with the soft skills of understanding why or how you are going to work with us. So interestingly, it helped that I'm from Kamashobs, and we have the royal court. So in the royal court, you sit with the old people there, discussing all the people issues in the royal household and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting. So I had that bringing as well, that most of the people that I will hang around with will be older people that are part of my my life.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting. Talking about being born to do something. And earlier on, you touched on your teacher, who's now a commercial farmer. I see here Mr. Nyiko Pasid Malek is saying,
Oh yes.
"Bemihingiserile, hirilaka siyandani." But thank you for sharing this powerful information. I'm tempted to say what's the scientific word, but anyway, that's for another discussion. And I see Bukona Mashavela is also saying, I'm here. And I see Zuni from Iris. So it seems like you have quite a following. Yeah. But anyway, let's go back to the questions that I have. I have so many questions around DPSA. And in Nishoko, I'm not the only one. Tell us something. I love storytelling, as I told you earlier. Now, here is a matriculant, for example, quite keen on now joining this DPSA. What is it that you can tell, or what mechanism? I heard you talking about modernization of recruitment and whatnot. So take us through this three stories. Here's a matriculant wanting to join public service, and here's someone who's already employed in the system. How do you, as the HR program, make sure kukuna the progress plans and succession plans? And then you mentioned the aging employees as well. How do you navigate as HR management these three people that are looking up to you?
So it's that's a very interesting dynamic that you're raising. The first part is with the older generation. In fact, I think let me start from the younger generation. We are some 2 years ago we introduced a program. No, last year, sorry, a program called the Future of Work Ambassadors Program in the public service, because what we wanted to learn as the department is to find out what when in after 2030, what are the type of services will the public want from the public service? What are the services that you'll want rather? But most importantly, how would you want to receive those services? And then we went a little bit further and said, how do you and how will the public service be structured for you to receive those services the way you are expecting it? So we have introduced a project that we are piloting across the public service. We have partnered with the Tshwane University of Technology, with the University of Wits, with the University of Durban, University of Technology, with the United Nations Development Program, as well as the Public Service and Education and Training Authority, where we are researching the type of skills or competencies and a model public servant that will need in 2030. So we're no longer planning for far away, but for 5 years from now. so that if we say these are the things that we are going to need and these are how the public service is supposed to receive them, or this is how they want them, we must be ready to say in 5 years time that's how we're going to have, and these are the people that we're going to have. So in addition to that, we've also introduced a program called the Emerging Leaders Program, which is a coaching and mentoring program. So in the public service before, you wouldn't have you wouldn't, for some of us that join the public service, and I'm sure even Mwanati, as a person is called, would say that when he joined the public service, he didn't have anyone who coached him, who mentored him. And even when we talk about induction, we don't really do much on that. So we're trying to say we want to build leaders. We want to build people that will be able to take over from those that will be living in the next 5 to 10 years, especially those that are retiring, the aged population. So that's how we are dealing with that. And we want all the youngsters that are leaving university, whether it's high school or university, to know the areas that we are having challenges with in terms of the reports that we are receiving, whether it's the report from the Zondo Commission, and interestingly, even back in 2012, the report of the National Development Plan, it said that we have the top 3 areas that are a challenge is actually leadership, supply chain management, as well as people management. We don't have leaders. We don't have people that can ethically manage tenders and procurement, and we don't have people that can manage people. And in terms of government, in fact, any employer, your most important resource is human resources. So we're trying to address that challenge.
Okay, no, that's quite interesting. It seems like there's a lot of things that you guys do. And again, my gripe with government is that we don't do enough to market the services that are actually going on. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, I once heard you on the radio talking about, I think you were addressing learners or school leavers or something like that. And that's where I first heard about the future of work. And you were giving details and a link to that website. Can we please have that website again, so that our young people here can still go in there and check, number one, what are scarce skills in our country and how they can get themselves into the working stream of government. That's interesting. So before the program ends, when we go on at break, can we please have that website again? That's so that's so interesting. Excuse me. So now, in all this, and we cannot run away from this issue. There's always the issue around corruption, and as public service and administration, whose role is really to come up with policies and norms and standards. How do you handle that?
It's a good thing. We have noted the challenges that were said the public service has in terms of the findings of the Zondo Commission. So you would have noted the implementation plan that the president has committed to address the recommendations of the Zondo Commission. So we are part of that team that deals with those implementation. But practically, I'll give you 3 examples of how we are handling or how we're addressing corruption and maladministration in government. The first one is the issue of making financial disclosures across all public servants. So we have since 2021 March, the financial disclosures have become compulsory for all senior managers, for all people that work in a supply chain, in finance, for all people that are decision makers in government. And when we talk about when we talk about financial disclosures, we're talking about you declaring the type of cars you have, the houses you live in, the type of financial interest you have, the donations, the gifts, and all of those type of things. And now we have even taken it a little bit further to say you can't accept any gift before you actually receive approval to receive that gift. So if I travel around, because I get to travel as a escape to the world will assist me, I then have to come back and say I received a gift from someone, and this is how much the gift is worth. Can I accept that gift or can I not? And my supervisor will then have to say yes or no. And if it's a no, I have to turn it back. And then the second part is we have now instituted lifestyle audits. So once you have declared your amounts, your financial disclosures, we now say we will we will assess whether you live within
Oh,
your
wow.
means. So if my sister lends me her car and her car is worth 5 million rand, I must declare that and say, this is not my car, it's my sister's car. But we must also do what we call beneficial ownership. So we have a lot of people that will not register things in their names, but then they are the ones that are using those things. And so we go to check and say, why are you having this type of things? All of that. So it goes deeper than that. Lastly, the third one is that we have now consolidated the list of all disciplinary cases across the public
Wow.
service. So before, we used to have people that would be disciplined at the Department of Public Service and Administration, and if they are going through and they see that they are going to lose, they leave and go to the office of the Premier, where I was in Gauteng, running away from a disciplinary case. But now we have a central database that will say, before you can even go to that department, you must declare, and the department can also check against that database whether you are being
Oh
disciplined.
wow, that's that's very insightful and that's very profound. But we need to go for an ad break, and when we come back, I want us to look at this. I love this type of comments. Here's Ms. Lamini here saying, Pumelel saying, what is the support that corporate could provide to this? So when we come back, I want us to talk more about this. Let's go for an ad break. Welcome back, welcome back. This is myself, Mandla Aventina Mabunda. I'm your host today for African Experience, and I'm not alone. I'm hosting Mr. Nyiko Mpika Mabunda. I nearly said your childhood nickname, but it's fine. And we are talking everything DPSA, and if you just joined us now, welcome, welcome. We are talking Department of Public Service and Administration in South Africa. And as the African experience, it's actually very critical for our people to come around the fire and talk about how does our government serve us? How does it handle public service? What is public service and administration? And before we went on an ad break, there was a beautiful comment that I like from Pumelele Dlamini. She says, what is the support that corporate could provide to this, that which you were talking about? Collaboration with SMMEs to support entrepreneurs and the further of work. How do we bring technology to solve a few of these challenges that you just mentioned previously?
No, thank you so much. I think that's a very good question from Ms. Lamini. I think one of the critical things that we're doing is that we partner with a lot of corporate across South Africa and internationally, in fact, including on the future of work. For instance, we have partnered with Microsoft South Africa as well as Google South Africa on the management of future of work, exposing young South Africans into excuse me into work experiences, into work areas. Including for the future of work ambassadors. In fact, what we have done is that we, as part of the program, they're supposed to travel to Singapore, Kenya, Rwanda, as well as Kazakhstan. I've never been to Kazakhstan myself, but these youngsters who are new in the public service will be going there to understand what the public service is across the world. So we partner with them on that. But most importantly, we also are more than willing to partner with corporate South Africa to say, give us experiences of what you are doing. We have a partnership with PwC, for instance, on management of talent, what we call talent management. So the career in the public service were not that clear in terms of career pathing because the law says by design, the constitution, each and every position must be advertised for anyone to apply for. But we want to say we want to develop talent so that whenever we advertise for particular positions, we are able to get people to apply for that. So that's a quite a good thing. Another part is if you listen to the State of the Nation address by the president, as well as the budget speech by the Minister of Public Service and Administration, they both did mention that we are removing minimum requirements for experience for entry-level jobs that are not supervisors. So from level 1 to up to level 6, there won't be experience that is required for, and those are entry-level jobs because people are leaving university. You did ask earlier, what must we say to people that are just starting on their working journey? So one of the things that we're asking corporate South Africa to do is to also to remove the minimum requirements on experience so that South Africans can get that first leg into a job.
Wow, no, that is beautiful. I love that. I mean, minimum experience, where do you get it if you don't get it from government, which is your home basically? So that is lovely. And I hope Ms. Lamini is now clear, and otherwise we can also take it offline to facilitate this sort of further engagement. Anyway, now the next question that I have is about employee health and wellness. And I see Dr. Mkatego here is actually also thinking like I am. She's saying, what is the commitment of DPSA to occupational wellness? I also had a question about that. How do you take care of your employees?
Um, so Dr. Mkatego has a PhD actually in employee health and wellness. So I'm not shocked that you will raise those issues because that is her field. So in government, what we have realized, we have done an analysis of the systems that we have put in place for how we take care of our colleagues or how we take care of each other. And one of the things that we have realized is that most public servants do not want to make use of employee health and wellness services because of the stigma that is associated with employee health and wellness. So during the COVID lockdown, and in fact, even now, after many of our colleagues are suffering from from long COVID, there has been a heightened experience of anxiety, of mental challenges. So mental well-being of public servants has deteriorated. The financial well-being of public servants has deteriorated. So the good thing is that as public servants, we are more cushioned against job losses. But when we are cushioned about job losses, we then get exposed to family members and members of the community that lose jobs because of the economic condition. But then that then means that we become responsible for taking care of our nephews, of our nieces, of our uncles, of our aunts, of the neighbor, who has lost his job, because you can't live alone in the community. So it has become a major issue. So we are now doing an overhaul of the whole employee health and wellness system. We have partnered with the United Nations Development Program as well as the World Health Organization. They are providing us with technical experts that are reviewing the reports that we receive annually from departments on employee health and wellness. And using those reports, we are going to host what we call a mental health indaba, which will be hosted in Gqeberha on the week of the 28th, the last week of August this year, which will then go through the things that are coming up and then revise the whole framework on employee health and wellness. But the key issue is that we must now look at the human being holistically. The preamble of the Constitution states that we have to free the potential of every person in South Africa. And for us to be able to free that potential, it means we have to look at the employee health and wellness of those that must free South Africans.
Wow.
So we're very much committed.
No, it's clear. No, the passion is just coming. I can just sit and listen to you talk about all these things because they are quite key. And I see our time is running. Time always runs when you are having a great time. But anyway, there is this concept that I found, or I came across when I was doing my research on DPSA. There is mention of professionalization framework. So what does it mean? Especially for service delivery. Mina ngilaka service delivery. What is professionalization framework?
No, Sotwana. So what we have noted, especially during the state capture period, is that there have been a lot of things that have gone wrong in the public service. There have been a lot of manipulation of appointment processes, a lot of manipulation of tenders, of procurement, of decision making, even. And what we realize is that we need to go back to professional ethics across the public service. So professional ethics means that you will work according to it's something it's built into a human being as they grow up, that you must do what is good even when no one is looking. So we want to promote the partnerships with professional bodies. So the health officials will be working with the health councils. The chartered accountants will belong to the Chartered Accountants South Africa. Directors will belong to IODSA, and all of those type of things. But so if you do not belong to some of these professional associations, you are not able to be part or to conduct yourself or to provide a particular service. So that's where we want to go, so that we improve the level of competency as well as commitment of public servants. To say, if you do not have minimum qualifications, you don't have professionalism on how you treat people, on how you react, on how you engage with colleagues, on how you treat the safety of the information that you are entrusted with, and how you treat with people equally and fairly. You can't be part of the public service. We want to have a public service that is professional, is ethical, as well as accessible to everyone. We are looking at, especially the senior management, we are also looking at opening up, having what we call open recruitment in the public service, where interviews will be conducted publicly, and every public member can observe you being interviewed. If you want to be a deputy director general, if you want to be a director general, the same way that we do interviews for the public protector, for the SABC board, for the National Youth Development Agency, so that people can start having, we can deal with the trust deficit that we have. People can start having faith in the public service. So that's professionalization in a
Oh,
nutshell.
wow.
It talks entry, how we train each other, how we treat each other, until you exit the public
It's
service.
quite interesting, and maybe then it will also do away with the issue of Butuleka HR and Komla Sivinyana and whatnot. I guess it will also help in that. So that is quite interesting. And I see a lot of people are quite engaged, and they are really keen on learning more and getting more insights. Remember, before we end, we will still need that that website or contact details of the project Their Future at Work, because I think it's very critical for the show to actually give something tangible to our listeners out there, especially the youth who might be seeking employment. So that is beautiful. That is beautiful. I've learned so much about DPSA today. Now, on a light and more personal note, I again, when I was doing my research, I thought I knew about you, but I really didn't. You are also an ambassador for a traveling agency called Escape to the World. Tell me about that.
So, Escape to the World is run by a young lady. So she's one of the, actually, it's a personal story. She's one of the young people that actually lost jobs during the lockdown because we couldn't travel, we couldn't do anything, and she was working for a travel agency. And interestingly, when I was still in the office of the premier, she once organized an official trip for me. So I was actually shocked when she started her own agency.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was actually shocked. So she runs, it's a black young woman youth owned travel agency that somehow, I don't know how they do it, they always get the cheapest rates or most available rates around for you to travel. And it's quite interesting, whether it's across South Africa, in the region in Africa and Southern Africa, or across the world. I know that right now they're running a promotion to go to Thailand, if I'm not mistaken. So you must check them on their website. It's quite interesting. They're quite responsive. They're a small outfit, so they will treat you like you are the royalty that you are.
Oh, like what a plug-in. Yeah, no. I hear the plug-in right there for
Escape,
Escape to the
escape to the
World.
world.
But anyway, it's quite interesting. I always love hearing this kind of stories because why? As the mandate of this show, we seek to inspire, and I cannot say that enough. So hearing such stories from a young person about another young person who is making a difference and standing out and are being counted and are claiming their space in the world, I love hearing those stories. And she has responded, so she's also listening. She's saying
Oh
hala, hala. She's saying hala. So that's
wow!
beautiful. So tell us, I know you are you
About
you are you are Mutsonga wa Shiviri. My host likes saying that ni Mutsonga wa Shiviri. Tell me, what makes you proud to be Mutsonga wa Shiviri?
So for me, Nakuba Mtsonga wa Shibere, I was actually so shocked, and this is one, it will shock a lot of people. The first time I found out that there are children that grow up without knowing who their fathers are is when I go to university. So as a Mutsonga, we have a saying, "Xibombi xi bomba na n'wana xona." meaning that you can't be gallivanting and traveling the world, sent by Escape to the World, but your kids are suffering. So for me, that part of family, I think as Batsonga, I truly moon. And that's why for me, Kubamtonga Washmi remains being grounded in family, being supportive to your family, and having your family to be your support structure. I mean, for me, I love cooking. So I learned to cook from my father. And of course, Mrs. Mabasa taught me to bake, but she didn't succeed. But during the hard lockdown, we had a competition of eating healthily because we realized that people were losing, were gaining weight because there was less activity. And we had a nice show going before you joined the African Experience, Miss Miss Mandla.
Yes, no,
And
thank you so much.
that shows the grounding of Kubamtonga. And
Yeah.
I'm sure na Nyiko Patsin Maluleke, you'll see in his timeline, whatever he does, it's all about family.
Yes, I agree 100%. You know what? Time is flying today, and we need to go for a short ad break. I know your listeners are glued now, listening, wanting to hear more from him, but unfortunately, we need to go for a short ad break. And when we come back, we will round up everything. Let's go for an ad break.
Are you ready for the ultimate dietary powerhouse? Look no further than Masana Dietitian's Nutro Boost. Our scientifically formulated low GI food is designed to give you the boost you need to fuel your body and reach your health goals. With Nutro Boost, you have the flexibility to enjoy it as a high fiber cereal or a satisfying shake. Simply mix it with water and indulge in the mouth-watering flavors that we have to offer. But that's not all. NutriBoost is packed with essential nutrients that are beneficial for your overall well-being. Enriched with 20 immune-boosting vitamins and minerals, it's a convenient and effective way to support your immune system. And here's the best part. NutriBoost is gluten-free, egg-free, and high in omega-3, making it suitable for those with dietary restrictions or allergies. Need an energy boost? NutriBoost has you covered. It's high in energy and protein, providing you with the fuel you need to power through your day. Whether it's a busy morning or an intense workout session, say goodbye to midday slumps and hello to sustained energy with NutriBoost. Try it today and experience the difference. For orders or to become a distributor, contact us on the following details.
Welcome back. The show is African Experience with myself, Mandla AVENTINA Mabunda. I don't normally go alone. I'm always with my co-host, Dr. NGWENYA, but she's traveling the world. And today we are having such a great time. We are talking to none other than the DDG of DPSA, that is the Department of Public Service and Administration, none other than Mr. Nyiko Mpika Goodwill Mabunda. It's so interesting.
You finally sneaked in.
I had to. It's so interesting. And you know what? We need to have more conversations about government, how to improve government, because you know what? It only serves us as Africans, specifically as South Africans, to want to go in there and try and change the status quo. They say you cannot complain if you don't want to be part of the solution. So today we learned how you are doing that through your HR program in DPSA. Before we carry on, we promised our listeners that we will give them more information about future of work, more specifically. Do you still have that website?
Yes. Well, the website is actually www.dpsa.gov.za, and you will go to the Human Resource Management and Development branch, and you'll find all that information there. So we will be more than interested to hear. The good thing is that we're currently reviewing the regulations that govern how we manage employment in the public service. So you can also provide input into that.
Okay, that's very nice. And we'll be speeding up now because our time has actually run up. But anyway, someone is saying, you know what? You are doing so much. How do you keep fit? How do you stay healthy? How do you do that? Because you are looking good. So some people are noting that as well.
Oh, thank you. I think exercise is quite critical, and a well-balanced diet. I just saw the Masana Nutri Boost advert there, so you must get those shakes. They're quite good. Exercise, good diet, and I try to sleep, but I struggle with that sleeping part. So that's that's one part that you must also try. But have an escape. Have an escape, and then the escape means something that distresses you. It's not something that would work for me. It's something that will work for you. One of my sisters says, "Nwana leswi tsakisaka mbilu ya wena." They will explain what that means.
Oh, this is so interesting. And I hope a lot of youngsters out there have learned a lot. A lot of young people are now inspired to go into government. And I see the website is up here as well. Go to dpsa.gov.za and learn more about the future of work. I know one of their objective is they want to make DPSA an employer of choice. That's a very bold statement. And I mean, seeing that from a government department, they must surely know what they're talking about. So thank you, Mr. Mabunda. And it was nice having a chat with you. It was very informative. And I see uh, um, Bishop Mandla Chow Chow Maluleke. He's saying, proud of this cousin of mine. You're doing the most. And then there's another one, Pauli Ranku, saying, thanks for the information. So be sure to expect a lot of communication from our listeners. And someone, Tinjalo Vukeya, she's saying, we are watching and thank you for the information. And someone actually also mentioned earlier on that, we need more public engagements regarding these projects such as future of work, emerging leadership. I think it will do a lot to boost the morale of our youth and the people that are trying to enter into government space. So, Mr. Mabunda, we always have this part in our show where we say, what do you want to tell the people of South Africa and beyond?
I think what we have, I think government, you are quite correct. We fail to communicate. The biggest failure of government is failure to communicate. We haven't shared what we have achieved, and I think it also goes to all of us as individuals. We have to be proud of ourselves, whatever the challenges we have. Let's be proud of ourselves and let's communicate what we achieve. We'll always have challenges, but those are part of life. My grandmothers used to say, "Ikhohlo khohlo ufamba naye."
Exactly. Kohlo kohlo ufamba na yena. Oh, thank you so much. But before I let you go, what is the next step from here?
Well, the next steps is that's a difficult one. They say you must confuse the enemy. You mustn't say everything. The next step is the world.
It's escaping to the world, I guess.
It's escaping
And,
to
and,
the world. Yes.
and just to sneak it in there, are you single or are you double?
Well, the Department of Home Affairs says I'm single.
Yeah. No, otherwise, Mr. Mabunda, it was such a great pleasure to have this chat with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want more information on Department of Public Administration, public service and administration, please do log into dpsa.gov.za. On that note, I'd like to thank all our listeners out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for spending this last hour with us. And thank you to our executive producer, DJ Messi, and Pastor Strike in studio for really a beautiful show. And on that note, I'm saying good night, God bless, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place, and we are talking to another brilliant South African who's doing amazing things out there. So thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.